I am Kate Busse. I am the local Resilience Program Manager with the state of Colorado.
My name is Rob Presley. I am the Resiliency Program Manager in the Colorado Resiliency Office here in the Department of Local Affairs.
The Colorado Resiliency Framework was developed after the 2013 floods, and it recognized that the world was changing more rapidly and that floods, fires, these shock events don't happen in isolation, and that we needed to start to take kind of a holistic look at the challenges our communities were facing and recognize that they were interrelated.
The framework was organized around 6 different sectors, and those are community, economic, health and social, housing, infrastructure, and watersheds and natural resources. These 6 sectors are the lens that we at the state view Colorado and the communities across the state. They are not necessarily meant to be standalone, independent sectors, though. We try to better understand the linkages across the sectors and hope that an improvement or action taken within one sector has multiple benefits that cascade across the others.
And the way that I think about it is that this should be how our ability to think about disruption, no matter what the disruption is. So resiliency is the ability of communities to adapt and thrive amidst changing conditions.
Resiliency is a term that often gets confused with hazard mitigation or disaster and emergency preparedness. Where they differ, though, is that hazard mitigation is about using planning tools and strategies that can reduce a community's risk and vulnerability to specific hazard events like a wildfire or a flood. Disaster preparedness and emergency response are about having plans and policies in place for how a community is going to react to and respond to for a major event in their community, so, a natural disaster. Resiliency, though, differs in that it looks holistically at a community and really calls into question what are the underlying factors within a community that makes them vulnerable to a hazard event or a disaster, and provides strategies for addressing those long-term issues within a community. Shocks are intense events like wildfires or floods that within a short amount of time can drastically change a community or the natural landscapes around it. We experience shocks on a regular basis here in Colorado, ranging from wildfires to floods, rockfall, avalanches, those types of events. Stresses are more underlying long-term conditions that can weaken the fabric of a community. Those can be anything from a lack of affordable housing, to aging infrastructure, to high rates of unemployment.
Communities are only as resilient as they are connected to each other, working across sectors, and that they have diverse viewpoints that are represented. And so Arvada is doing a neighborhood level program where they're holding block parties and encouraging neighbors to connect to one another and think about projects within their own neighborhoods and really kind of like thinking about civic empowerment. Another good example is the City of Boulder and Boulder County partnered up with the Wild Foundation to look at ecological resilience. And so the way that they did this is through kind of a novel community engagement method and using citizen science and an app called iNaturalist to engage residents with local biodiversity and encourage them to be tracking what they're seeing. And this in turn helps land managers working for the city and county do some of their own planning, understand how wildlife is moving, and also then integrates residents into that planning process.